Welcome back to Boom and Bust with our guest, the Honorable Joe Oliver, former Finance Minister, Natural Resources Minister, discussing Budget 2024. Joe, you wanted to make a point about the breadth of this tax increase, which the Finance Minister, Chrystia Freeland, was trying to minimize, but you have another thought on this, so please continue.
Yes, well, she, in her budget remarks, referred derisively to the wealthy, the top 1%, the top 0.1%, which is 1/1000th of the population. And they're the ones who might complain most bitterly about this, implying that this is who the tax is going to hit. Well, the Fraser Institute did a study a couple of years ago and discovered that more than 50% of the people who pay capital gains tax earn less than $150,000. So this is clearly a tax which will impact the middle class.
Right.
It's not just for the wealthy. And of course, the wealthy will be able to use tax consultants and lawyers and so on to try to minimize its impact. But overall, the real problem, as I said, is that it will have a negative economic impact, and it will exacerbate the capital flight problem that Canada is currently suffering from. And that, of course, has an impact on productivity, which is a subject I think we should discuss at some point.
I want to put it in a bit of a context. Obviously, when you were finance minister, I was president of the Treasury Board, and this latest statistic came out showing 100,000 person increase in the federal public service since the time that we were in office. Much more growth in terms of federal employees than in the private sector, as an example. So that's a sustainability question I'd like you to comment on, as well as other things that are affecting our productivity.
Right. I mean, that's quite an astonishing increase, and of course there have been increases at the provincial level as well. The government says that they're going to be, very prudent, and they're going to seriously cut back on the public service by about 5,000 people through attrition. And this, Justin Trudeau's BFF, Jagmeet Singh, says is an outrageous sort of instance of austerity. Well, they've increased it by 100,000, and now they're going to, over the next 5 years, reduce it by 5,000. It's like someone gaining 100 pounds and says, "Well, I'm going to reduce my weight by 7 pounds. Am I not being very frugal with my diet?"
Right.
I mean, it's nonsense. But if you'd like, I can talk a bit about the productivity issue.
Please, yeah.
Which the government really hasn't done anything to address. Quite to the contrary. I mean, we have a serious problem. Indeed, it's a crisis in productivity, and the best way to measure it is by looking at what's happened to GDP per capita, which is a measure of individual prosperity. And in that regard, the growth rate of GDP per capita has been a meager 0.3% since the Liberal Party took office in 2015.
Right.
I mean, that is really bad, and it's worse than most other countries. And as I think we've discussed in other episodes, the OECD forecasted what GDP per capita will be among the 38 wealthiest countries over the next 40 years, and Canada is ranked dead last. I mean, this is appalling. It's really a disgrace for a company that is so blessed with our natural resources and our intellectual resources. For us to be dead last really is a sign that our fiscal policies are basically in deep trouble. And of course, it means that the average person is not seeing any improvement in his or her standard of living. And relative to other countries, all other wealthy countries, were falling behind. You know, in 1948, two new countries earned their independence: South Korea and Israel. They were very poor. They both had
Right.
existential military threats to confront.